Welcome all viewers to the next episode presented to you by the linguist. So from this time on, I decided to present you a proverb each time in each episode, one proverb, one English proverb. Uh, the reason the reason why I do that is because I want is because these proverbs contain a lot of wisdom inside that we take for granted. I mean, either we have heard them so many times in our lives that we perceive it as a cliche and we don't really think deeply about it or think deeply about what it contains. Uh, I mean, what type of wisdom it contains inside. And we don't know many proverbs because we know only five, six, or 10 proverbs that we repeat over and over again, and we don't really think much about. But there are plenty of proverbs, I mean, thousands and tens of thousands of proverbs out there that we're not aware of. So I want to present to you one proverb each time and explain the wisdom and also its link with our present time and age. So what type of I mean how it is related to our time and age. So I want to explain that. So let's get started. Our first proverb for today is he that goes a borrowing goes a sorrowing. I repeat again. He that goes a borrowing goes a sorrowing. So you know what a borrow means. Borrow means taking money from someone temporarily with the intention to pay it back, right? And sorrow means sorrow, sadness, unhappiness, misery. So that's all these words are synonymous to the word sorrow. So he that goes a borrowing goes a sorrowing. So he that takes money from someone or gets money from someone with the intention to pay it back will regret that action in the future. Why? Because if we look into the definition of this word of this proverb, we can see that this is a warning that borrowing money is not a good idea because that money will have to be paid back, and usually with interest. So for those who don't speak English very well, I want to explain that interest is the extra money that you pay back. So, for example, you borrow $1,000 from someone, from a bank, or from someone, or from someone. So when you pay it back, you don't pay $1,000. You don't pay what you got, but you pay extra. For example, you pay 1,200 or $1,500 back, and that extra money that you pay is called interest. So we need to be aware that when we borrow money, this is not something that we can get away with, but we will need to pay for it, and also with interest, with extra money. So that's really dangerous trap. Why? Okay, we'll talk about that later, but before we explain why it is a trap, so we should ask the question why we go borrowing. So is it so difficult to understand that when we borrow something, it will bring us misery? I mean, it can bring us misery. I don't say that it will definitely bring us misery, but we'll go as sorrow. I mean, we can go as sorrowing. There is a possibility, I mean, a great possibility. So why don't we understand that? The reason why we don't understand that is because we're blinded with certain factors. So the first of them is the urge to get things quickly. So where do we get that urge? And urge means that we think think that something is really important, and that's why we take action. So that's called the urge. So why do we feel that urge in the first place? We feel that urge due to advertisements nowadays. Advertisements and commercials. We're bombarded with advertisements and commercials. That's why we cannot think straight. So if someone tells you that you're crazy, you're crazy, you're crazy 1,000 times, you will actually, no matter how wise and clever you are, you will turn into crazy. So this is a method of our capitalistic system. So and these commercials and advertisements, they almost force us to buy things, not because we need them, but because we are made to believe we need them. And in this way, we try to pay for something that we cannot afford. So if you cannot afford it, it means that you don't have that money, and that's why you will get that money from somewhere else. You will outsource that money, and you get a loan from the bank, or you borrow money from someone else, and you buy the thing. So forgetting that you will pay it back, because the urge is so high, the urge is so intense that you cannot think about that you cannot think outside that. And then when you have to pay that, you see that your budget cannot afford it. I mean, the budget is not. If you cannot afford it, it means that that product is not within your budget. And if that product is not within your budget, it means that you take such a burden on your shoulders that you cannot bear. So, and another reason why we feel that urge is because we want to keep up with the trend. So there is a trend. I mean, certain people around us buy something, and they also go a borrowing. That they will later go a sorrowing for. And we see that a lot of people do that. And I mean, psychologically, human mind is designed in such a way that when we see that the crowd is doing something, we automatically begin to think that what they do is right. Because why is this right? Because a lot of people, I mean, everyone does that, but we don't understand that everyone is in a trap, and everyone is. So if everyone is in a trap, then the trap is not already a trap because everyone is there. So this is our mentality. This is our psychology. This is human psychology. So we need to stay away from that. We need to stay away from mob mentality. So that's called mob mentality, M-O-B, mob mentality, because uh, because a lot of people do that. Then that must be right, you know. So we need to stay away from that, because why is it dangerous to go a borrowing? Because people used to pay for things in cash in the past. I mean, before all this craze was spread out, people used to pay for things in cash. And when you pay for things in cash, it means that you try to stay within your budget. When you stay within your budget, you live in reality. You don't live in illusion. You live in reality. Because nowadays we are trying to turn illusion into reality. For example, but in a negative way. For example, you cannot afford something, but you still can buy that. I mean, in the past, people couldn't afford that; they couldn't buy that, and when they couldn't buy that, they didn't have that thing, and they didn't have that thing, and that was the reality about that person. So that means either he's poor, or he's middle class, or he's rich. But nowadays, we cannot see that. We cannot see that. We cannot distinguish rich from poor, because everyone can afford to buy something. So you can see that someone is really well off, but actually what he owns is not really something that he really owns. I mean, someone else, banks own it, but he's just using it, and he's paying for that thing extra. Uh, so and that's why we're pursued to buying credits. So the company that sell a certain product are really interested that you buy their products, and the bank is really interested to pay you money that you will pay extra because they earn from you too. So you are torn apart between these two sides, companies and banks. And we buy things not because we need them, but only because we're made to believe we need them. So because you're bombarded with all the commercial advertisement, and also there is pressure from the crowd. I mean, you want to keep up with the crowd, and that's why you find yourself in that trap. You go down that rabbit hole like Alice in Wonderland. So by doing so, we enslave ourselves. We enslave ourselves. We bow down to the system, uh, and we become, I mean, individuals that they really want us to see like. So you may think that the word self-enslavement is really harsh, is really too extreme, but I don't really think so, because it is self-enslavement. Because you do what? You buy something that you cannot afford, and that's why when you, I mean, your salary does not belong to you, but belongs to those things who lend you money even before you get that salary, even before you make that profit. And that means that money is not your money. So we have two biggest resources in our lives. And first, I mean, the first of them is time, and the other one is and the other one is energy. We spend our energy, we spend our energy and time to get money. And but when the money is not your money, you already pay that to someone else. So it means that you're wasting your energy and your time not for yourself but for someone else. So that's exactly what self-enslavement means. So how can we stay away from that trap? How can we save ourselves from going a sorrowing? It's very simple. You stay within your budget. You should be satisfied with what you have in your hands. What you have in your hands. So, and you really, before you buy something, before you feel that urge of buying something and consuming something, right? You need to ask yourself two questions. These two questions are really crucial. First, do I really need it? Okay, if the answer is honestly positive, then you can go to the next one. And the second question is, can I afford it? If you need it and if you can afford it, if you answer both of these questions positively, honestly, positively, then yeah, come buy that. But if you need it but you cannot afford it, then you need to be patient enough to save up money to buy that product. If it's not a life and death matter. If it is life and death matter, you need to get it now. Otherwise, you will die. So in that situation, yeah, you can go and borrow and then suffer from the surface, from the result of it. So, but if you're not in that situation, I hope you will never be in that situation. Then you need to be patient enough to save up money and buy that. And if your life is not enough to save up for that money, I mean, to save up for that product or for that service, then you will die without getting it. So it's no big deal. Why? Because we should stay away from the mentality of buying and consuming. So this mentality is not a human mentality, actually. I mean, if you put it beyond everything, I mean, buying and consuming, if that is the highest priority in your life, and it is the highest goal in your life, then you're not really living a human life. This is, I mean, no matter how harsh it sounds, I will say that it's an animal's attitude to life. And consuming, getting something, consuming. And animals are really wiser than such kind of people, because animals get things for free, but we buy them. We actually pay our energy and time, get money, and then buy them and consume them. So this shouldn't be our top priority. Our top priority must be some other higher goal. We need to have a higher purpose in life than just buying and consuming. Our buying and consuming should serve that higher purpose. So, but what we can see nowadays, we don't. I mean, our top priority is not a higher goal. Our top priority is really as primitive as buying and consuming things, just like in animals. And that's why we cannot buy and consume something, we get stressed and depressed. So we should stay away from that mentality. This is another. And when we stay away from that mentality, we become patient enough to save up money and to be okay with living without things that we feel the urge of buying. So this sentence is a little complicated. Anyway, so we need to. But if you don't need something, but you still can afford it, it's still not a good idea to buy the thing, because it's a waste of money. So why you buy things that you don't need, even if you can afford it? So instead of doing that, you can just invest your money in such a way that it generates some value for you. So at the end of our episode, I want to remind you that priceless proverb: he that goes a borrowing goes a sorrowing. So you need to remember it. And whenever you feel the urge of buying something, again, I'm summarizing. Ask yourself two questions: do I need it, or can I afford it? If your answer is positive for both of these questions, then yeah, you can go and buy it. Then you will not need to go a borrowing and then go a sorrowing. So thank you very much. See you next time.